TJ McCormack on the line with us, conservative commentator. You can find him over at facebook.com/TJ Talks and Twitter at TJ McCormack, McCormack. TJ, welcome back to the program.
I disagree. Thank you.
All right. Lloyd Blankfein, the CEO of Goldman Sachs, says that we need to bump up the retirement age. We need to make those bricklayers work until they're 70 instead of 65 or even 62, which you could take early retirement, because we're living so much longer now than we were in 1935. I'm assuming you know, TJ, that is by and large. I'm looking for a word I can use on the media, on the air. Let's say nonsense, bullpucky, bat guano.
Malarkey? You want to take a nod from Biden? Malarkey?
Malarkey's a fine one. The fact of the matter is that if you live past your 10th or 15th birthday, in other words, if you take out infant mortality, because back in 1935, a lot of people didn't live past their first birthday, in large part because of sanitation problems and severe poverty in the United States. If you take, if you only look at people who are over 15 years old, we're only living a year or two longer on average. And right now, if you look at people who have turned 65 and compare them to back then, the average lifespan for anybody making under $200,000 a year is 1 year longer than it was back then, and it's about 7 years longer if you're a rich person. So,
I think, look, I think there's something to be said about, the fact that there are some harsh realities that we all have to face in terms of what these, and I only use the word entitlement just to talk about what we all know we're talking about. I'm not making a grand statement about people sitting back and waiting for a check.
Well, hey, I think I'm entitled to get back the money I paid into Social Security my whole life.
Exactly, and that is something that, look, I you know what, Tom, and I won't say I agree with you, but I think we're both on the same page there. I've been paying into my Social Security. I want it back. However, quality of life is better as we get older these days. If we're only living 1 or 2 years longer, or 3 or 4, we can get a bunch of scientists in a room, and there'll be some that will say we're living 10 years longer. The quality of the life is better later on, and but again. We have to.
So that means it's less expensive.
Realities. This money is just simply not going to be there. We have to change things.
Now, wait a second, TJ. Well, I understand that Pete Peterson, a Wall Street billionaire, has spent $500 million, more than almost $500 million, trying to convince largely conservatives that Social Security is going broke, terrible. It's a disaster. And he's lying to you. Do you understand that in 82, when Reagan put together his commission, or 81, when he put together the commission with Daniel Patrick Moynihan and whoever the other guy was on there, that what they saw was that from 35 until 81, every generation had paid for their parents' retirement, but this rabbit going through the python of the baby boomer generation was coming. And, how do we deal with this? And the answer that they came up with was, let's double tax the boomers. Let's have them pay not only for their parents' retirement, but for their own retirement as well. And so starting in 81, Reagan doubled the Social Security tax so that Social Security, instead of just paying out, benefits, Social Security started accumulating a profit. It has $2.7 trillion sitting in that trust fund right now. That is money where the baby boomer generation double paid, the only generation in history to do that. And the theory is that Reagan put together is after the last boomers die in the 2030s, 2040s, they'll cut those Social Security tax rates and go back to just, people will just be funding the retirement of their parents. But there's $2.7 trillion sitting in that trust fund, and Pete Peterson and his buddies on Wall Street want to get their hands on that so bad they're salivating so much, but it's all invested in government treasuries. And that's why they're saying Social Security is going broke. Social Security is just fine, thank you very much. It's going to pay out every benefit for the next 20 years. And after that, it'll pay out 80% of benefits forever with no adjustments whatsoever. And if you simply said that Pete Peterson has to pay the same amount of the same percentage of tax in Social Security as the guy who, as his butler, as his driver, as his valet, and as his chef, then Social Security would be solvent forever.
Did you just say that in 20 years it's going to be paying 80% of the benefits?
Yes.
that sounds broken to me. What about we needed to pay 100% of the benefits all the way through?
I agree, and that's why I'm saying right now, your first $110,000 of income, you pay, between you and your employer, you pay 8% Social Security tax on it. After that first $110,000, you take Mitt Romney, for example. Last year, he made $22 million. Of that $22 million, he paid Social Security tax on the first $110,000, and then after that, he didn't pay a penny of Social Security tax on the other $23,900,000. If he had simply paid the same percentage of Social Security tax as his chauffeur, Social Security would be solvent. And nobody's disputing that. Even Pete Peterson doesn't dispute that. So why don't you get on board with the rest of us and say, we can solve, the, quote, problem with Social Security, not require anybody to be laying bricks until they're 70 years old or working in a restaurant with their knees going out until they're 70 years old?
I think because I'm hearing a lot of talk about how we can, why we should take more, why we should and how we should improve our revenue collection and the levels of revenue to collect. But I think the other side of the discussion, I still want to hear where we're going to make very important cuts. I think that's the other side.
Social Security has nothing to do with the budget deficit. Social Security has a $2.5 trillion surplus.
We're willing to come to the table and talk about revenue, but we got to hear more about cuts and maybe other harsher realities like taking the benefits later.
So, Social Security has nothing to do with the budget deficit. In fact, Social Security has a $2.7 trillion surplus. So we can take Social Security out of this discussion. Now, if you want to discuss cutting other benefits,
people in a frame of mind for making deals and coming to.
Wait a second.
You know what I'm talking about?
Wait a second. If you want to discuss cutting other benefits as a way to balance the budget, and if we're going to operate within Jude Wanniski's framework of forcing the Democrats to shoot Santa Claus by going into austerity, can you please identify for me one country in history? You can go all the way back to the Greek democracy 3,000 years ago, the Roman Republic 2,000 years ago. Please identify for me one country, or for that matter in the United States in the last 100 years, one state that has cut its way to prosperity.
Well, you know what? Maybe it hasn't come to pass that they've had to. And you might actually be speaking some sense to a lot of people. I think, it's a shame that we've gotten to the point that we've had to cut our way to price. Because what's happened is, I can tell you that America, like a lot of other places, has spent themselves.
Well, here's the simple thing, TJ. It has never happened. It has never worked. What we've seen in the last 2 years is 24 red states where the governors actually cut taxes and cut spending, and they've all seen unemployment get worse, and they've seen their GDP go down. Not all of them. There's been 2 or 3 exceptions, like Ohio, because of the auto bailout. And then you've got 25 blue states where taxes were raised, revenue was raised, more money was spent, and in every case, unemployment went down, revenue and GDP went up. So it's like austerity doesn't work. The stuff that's been preached by these billionaires doesn't work.
Well, again, it's one of these things. Nobody likes the notion of austerity, really, in and of itself. But
if Eisenhower had tried austerity after World War II, we had 127% of GDP debt after World War II. It was far worse than it is right now. 127% of GDP. He did not cut his way to prosperity. He spent like a drunken sailor. He built highways across America. He funded 80% of the cost of any hospital anywhere in the country. He paid 100% of the cost of thousands of schools. He spent money, and that money stimulated the economy. It created a middle class of taxpayers, and we paid off the debt by growing our way out of it.
Again, we may not be able to cut our way to prosperity, but we have certainly learned how to spend our way.
I think we can grow our way out of it. But TJ McCormack, Facebook, TJ Talks.